and we were in a public speaking course, which is kind of funny. And he just asked me to say a few words today, so I wrote some things down, and I didn't really get a chance to really look at it, but here we go. I'd like to welcome everybody, all your smiling, joy-filled Christian faces. I used to think that about folks who were saved. I would look at them and I'd think, man, they're always so happy. They're always so positive. That must be nice. I wish I could have that. And now that I'm one of them, one of you, or one of us, sometimes when I'm alone and I'm weak and I doubt, I let these kind of thoughts in that I wish I could go back to a time before I was aware of the battle, aware of the big deal, aware of the battle between good and evil. Sometimes I find myself wishing these things because the knowledge is so heavy, and God's armor is equally as heavy. There's so much at stake. So today we gather here to celebrate one victory and a battle in a demonstrable war. The Battle of Rick and Terry Hughes. The Battle of McCulloch. For all you Irish people out there, McCulloch! To free their daughter from addiction, from Lucifer, from the grip of the Dark One himself. So celebrate today. Enjoy each other. Eat, drink, and be merry. Listen to people's stories. Be patient. But tomorrow, let's get back in the fight. Because the real test for Terry and Rick's daughter isn't going to be fought in Tucson over the last 2 months. It'll be fought here in the streets when she gets back in her life.
Knowing that.
She's going to have to take what she learned and apply it here. So stay frosty. Stay tuned. And keep her and all the children possessed by addiction in your minds and in prayer. And to those of you who haven't given your life to Christ or haven't been saved yet, I'd like to say reluctantly, but relevantly, welcome to the battle. And that's it.
I'm going to talk from out here because if I talk from back here, nobody can see how since I'm one of the taller humans on the planet. I'm Ron Gould. This is my wife Janice. We have 3 children. We chose to homeschool our kids. We thought that maybe that would isolate them from the problems of the world. Well, it worked pretty well with 2 of the 3. Our middle child, Robbie, isn't currently in Teen Challenge. He's been there for 6 weeks, approximately. Robbie was an Oxycontin user, a heroin user. I believe he started out smoking pot. You know, like many of you, including myself, had done at one time. This led, as time went on, until he was totally addicted and out of control. His friends, even his doper buddies, thought that he was going to OD. That's how bad this got. Robbie is a real smart kid. He's very smart. He actually, the first year I was in the legislature, he actually ran our air conditioning service business with the help of his mother. He was able to do all the field work by himself. When I was in the first 6 months of the year, I'm down in the legislature most of the week. He held that down the first year outstandingly. The next year came around, and this is even before he was 18. On his 18th birthday, about 3 days later, he decided to move out, which is kind of when his whole life began a downward spiral. It started out he was hard to wake up. He'd always been somewhat hard to wake up as a child, so it didn't seem that unusual, until it was 11:30 in the morning and he still isn't up yet. I would go wake him up at the house that he was living at. That's how bad. That's how much I was willing to cover for him. Go rouse him out of bed and drag him off to work and try to get him to go to work and whatnot. He kind of started this downward spiral. I believe it was about a year and a half ago he was busted in a drug bust when the DEA, GET-'em, which is the DPS, and the local PD busted Kimmy Ross, who's a big meth dealer in town. Robbie was at the guy's in his garage with 2 other gals that were slamming meth at the time. Apparently, having your head held to the ground with a boot on your throat in 2 days in jail didn't straighten him up any. All he was concerned about was going back to jail. So he got one of his buddies bonded him out. A lot of the bail bondsmen in town will bond people out with no collateral. Essentially, because they're in cahoots with the drug dealers, because that's how they make money. So normally you would have to put up some kind of collateral to get bonded out of jail. They're able to get bonded out and they're back on the street using drugs that same day. He was shooting heroin the day after he got out of jail. I was talking to a father over here, and he said it's all that he can do to go and take retribution on these drug dealers. And for me, it was very hard for me to not take retribution on these guys and exact revenge on them, because to me they're just low life scum. And my son was low life scum because he was selling drugs to other people. You're essentially making $1 to feed your drug habit by destroying other people's lives. And to me, that's just you're dealing with Satan. You're essentially Satan's agent to destroy people's lives here on earth. To me, that's unconscionable. And I realized how after I watched this happen, you go from marijuana to harder drugs. You're addicted. You can't work anymore. So then what you're doing is then you're either stealing or you're selling drugs to feed your drug habit. And Robbie did both of those things. Inevitably, that was how he ended up in Teen Challenge for the second time. He was back in August. We talked him in. He had owed some guy drug money, and the guy's going to kill him, which you'd find out as a standard story, that somebody's always going to kill you because you owe them drug money, because you do drugs. You get them to front you drugs, and then they threaten to kill you to come up with the money. So this is essentially what happens. I told him, you know what, I'll pay your drug debt off if you go to Teen Challenge. Because I figure if I can write a check and cure this problem, then it's not a problem anymore. So Robbie, that was the deal we made. We got him into Teen Challenge. He stayed there for 10 days, decided he was good to come home, and checked himself out. Since he was not court ordered to be there, he could, all he has to do is walk away. Essentially, that's what he did. Within a week, we took him back into the house. Within a week, he's back using drugs again, because they go right back to those same people. And I haven't figured out what is in human nature that when somebody's you've got a bunch of people in a hole, essentially, and one of them is trying to crest the hole. He's trying to come out, and these so-called friends will drag that person back down into that hole. I haven't really figured out why. Is it misery loves company?
They're weak.
I haven't figured out why. Yeah, they'll pull that person right back down, and they don't fight that hard to go back down, because it's the path of least resistance. Just like gravity, you'll fall to the earth.
Right.
So essentially, he's back in town, back on drugs. We tried to straighten him up, tried to keep control, tried to keep some control on him and accountability. That didn't work. He even had a friend, Scott Stutler. He actually was living with Scott for a while, and Scott was trying to be accountable. He thought maybe he'd have better luck keeping Robbie accountable than I did. He finally got mad, and Scott kicked him out. So he's just continuing down this spiral. And he had broken into, I have a gun safe, and I have some cash, and I have guns in the gun safe. It's a gun safe. I forgot that he knew the combination to the safe, because he had known the combination from when he was a child. But he had wanted to get his gun out of there, a couple years before that, and didn't know what the combination was, so I thought he didn't know the combination. So he had gotten in there and stole some money. And we kept a tab on him. He worked for us most of the time, because we thought we would keep him working and that would keep him off the dope, and that was a failure. We should have just walked away from him and let him crash. Because I think what we did by holding him up was just prolong the whole process.
Right.
We probably should have just said, you know what, you're out of here, go away.
That's what I did.
And that's probably what we should have done. I know quite a few police officers in town, so I was trying to get him busted for dealing, so we'd have a high enough charge that we could actually force him to go to Teen Challenge again. My wife gets a call about 2 months ago from the coin shop in town, and they said, hey, we have your son Robbie down here. He's trying to sell a gold coin that he says he got from his grandfather. And Janice said, no, those are all our gold coins, hang on to it. And apparently he had stolen, when he was in stealing cash out of the safe, he had stolen 4 gold coins also. So that's about $4,000 at today's gold price. So I told Janice, call the cops and press charges on it.